Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you're located. Thanks for joining us today for this information session for the CTTP Studentship and Fellowship Awards Program. Um, my name is Chris Fillon, an associate professor at McGill in the Departments of Medicine and of Epidemiology, Biostatistics, and Occupational Health. It's my pleasure to be moderating today's session with Bertrand Jean-Claude from McGill and from the McGill University Health Center Research Institute. And our plan for today is we'll go through, I guess, quick introduction. We'll have a video to share. We will introduce the CTTPs that are part of the funding competition, and then we're going to turn it over to folks for question and answers, which is I'm sure the main reason folks are here. Um, and I guess we'll introduce the members of the CTPPs. I guess after the video, once we as we go through the different networks. So with that, why don't we start the video and just get a bit of an introduction here.
Welcome to the awards program for studentships and the fellowships offered by the clinical trials training programs of Cantrain, CanTap Talent, CBITN, and StrokeCog. This video will take you through the awards application process, step by step. To understand the programs, eligibility criteria, and the different parts of the application, it is recommended to review the guidelines carefully. The guidelines provide the details that can help you not only plan your submission, but it will also help you prepare your application that reflects you, your work, and communicates your suitability for the award to the review committee. Once you have noted the application requirements for your category, which may be master's, doctoral, or postdoctoral, based on the clinical trial training program you want to apply to, you are all set to start the online application process. To start the application process, you need to select your category. Then the clinical trial training program you have selected, and then click on the Apply button. Please note that each clinical trial training program has their respective guidelines and apply buttons. Click on the Apply button. This will open the pre-registration form, in other words, intention to apply. The pre-registration form contains fields for preliminary information such as your details, the award category you are applying to, name and email ID of the individuals who will provide the first and second letters of recommendation to support your application, etc. After submitting the pre-registration form, you will receive 2 emails. One email will confirm your submission, and a second email will contain the confirmation of your registration and the button to continue to your application form. When working on your application form, you can save your entries to continue to work on it later. You will receive email confirmations when you save your work to be able to pick up from where you left off. Before you submit, you can preview your submission. You can click Print to save a copy of your preview. Once completed, you can submit. Based on your pre-registration form submission, individuals you have proposed to provide letters of recommendation will also receive emails to directly submit their respective letters of recommendation. If for any reason you need to revise the name and or email address for your letters of recommendation providers, this can be done as follows. Step 1. Return to your pre-registration intention to apply form submission confirmation email. Step 2. Click the link to update the form. Step 3. Make necessary updates to the letter of recommendation section and submit. Step 4. You will receive an email confirmation of the updates to this section. The indicated individuals will receive fresh emails to upload their letters of recommendation. This does not affect the application form you have already received, and you can continue to work on the form. You cannot update category in this fashion. Both letters and the completed application form are needed for an application to be deemed complete and considered for evaluation. Incomplete attempts will be discarded and not considered for evaluation. Remember that as the applicant, it is your responsibility to provide correct email addresses and also to follow up with those you have confirmed to provide letters of recommendation. This concludes our step-by-step overview of the application process to the graduate studentships and the postdoctoral fellowship awards. Cantrain wishes all the applicants the very best.
Thank you for sharing the video. So I guess before going into some of the details for the Cantrain portion, I just want to introduce a few members of the team here. That include I've already introduced Bertrand, but I also want to introduce just a second Sarah Ibrahim, who's our director of operations. We have Lisa Gose, who's our COO. Vikram is handling all the technical things, technical aspects of the competition, and will be able to answer any of our technical questions. Luis Armando is part of the Cantrain IT team, and Cynthia is providing administrative support here today. So, can Luis, could you share the Cantrain slides? So we just want to spend about a couple minutes on each CTTP to uh, just go through the specifics of that competition. For Cantrain, uh, the so okay, well for Cantrain, well, we're accepting master's, PhD, and postdoctoral fellowships as in previous years. Half of the funding is going to be provided by Cantrain through, or by CIHR through Cantrain, and then half will be or the other half may be provided by a provincial co-funder, depending on the availability of co-funds. The I saw the slide for the split second, and the issue, the amounts will actually be shown on the slide in a second. For registration will be at the registration deadline for all three is May 28th with the submission deadline of June 2nd. That includes the submission for all supporting documentation. You can see for the masters, it's 8,750 plus potentially matching funding. Okay, 17 and a half plus potential matching funding for doctoral. Postdoctoral is 21,250 plus potentially matching funding with a start date for all three as of September 1st. To be eligible, you need to be a full-time master's student, postdoctoral student, doctoral student, or postdoctoral student at a Canadian institution. You need to be a Canadian citizen, a permanent resident, or have an appropriate visa. It's one application per candidate and a maximum of 2 applications per supervisor to the Cantrain competitions. And a student can only apply to 1 CTTP per year. Importantly, awards can't be combined with existing CIHR studentships, and any provincial co-funding rules apply. For example, in Quebec, co-funding is provided by the FRQ, so you can't hold an FRQ award to receive the co-funding. The training requirements include completing the Common Core Foundation, which is 14 online courses, participating in the mentor-led engagement sessions, and attending our annual CTTP summit. We also ask your supervisors to agree to join Cantrain as a reviewer and mentor. And following the completion of the award period, awardees need to complete a two-page end of award report. The program also includes mentorship, in which you're assigned an academic mentor, and we're exploring the possibility of also assigning patient partner mentors. And in all Cantrain activities, we do support underrepresented groups, and EDIA and the integration of EDIA in trials. Next slide, please. Application details are shown here on the slide. Includes a personal statement that has 6 questions of 200 words each. The candidate's CCV, the supervisor's CCV, a project description, which is up 2 pages plus up to 4 pages of appendices, reference letters, 2 PDFs, one from the primary supervisor and one from the secondary responder, and there should be a maximum of 2 pages each. The final submission must be done by June 2nd, 11:59 Eastern, and you will receive a confirmation email within 24 hours. And just a note for we are bilingual, both we accept that, the applications can be submitted in French, so it's where French applications are allowed an extra 25%. Another thing just with respect to bilingualism, I'm chatting in English now, but I would be happy to handle any questions that arise for folks if they want to ask them in French. So with that, I will turn the floor over to our colleagues at CPITN, who can introduce themselves and provide some details regarding their application.
So hi everyone. I'm here with Chandra, as well as Sydney and Ariane, who are two of our mentees. Sydney went through the program last year. Ariane is going through it now. And the fact that we invited them here speaks to the fact that our program is very mentee based. In fact, mentees, they're invited to develop a lot of the curriculum that they're going to take. So just to go through parts of the program, we are very mentorship based. I think what differentiates CBITN from the other CTTPs in terms of mentorship is that every mentee has 2 mentors. So one, an academic mentor, what we would usually understand as our supervisors or mentors. But we also have what we call non-academic or professional or community mentors, and that's something that's different with the CBITN program. And the idea behind that is to to get mentees to have insights from outside the university or research setting. So often the work that behavioral interventions involve people, patients, and populations. And so there's a lot, we believe, to be learned from outside university and outside the research setting. So that's one of the unique features of the CBITN's training platform. The academic portion of the CBITN is 10 modules of academic content about behavioral intervention in trials, approaches, methodologies. The program also involves getting professional development skills and doing internships and taking part in networking events. There's also a mentee forum, so where the mentees can speak together, work together, exchange tricks and tips, challenges, and support one another. And this is led by people who are actively or were previously mentees. So the trick with the CBITN program is that the first run is mentees developing what we called an individualized development program for themselves. They sit down with their mentors to develop, and they will choose the professional development skills that they want to develop and go and choose the courses that they need to do. They will choose the internships if they want. That's optional if they want to do one. And the networking events are things that we do across the country regionally, and there's a national one as well. So at the beginning of the program, the mentees will develop their game plan, their journey for the year, which will involve all these different components. So in terms of the application process, it's slightly different in that we require a second mentor that's a non-academic. Could we go to the next slide, please, Vikram? But it is essentially, it's on the same platform as the Cantrain Awards. You go through the same process, you register once, get the confirmation, go back, submit your names. So it's not entirely a whole different application process. It's on the same platform. It's just the content of the program is going to be a little bit different. So in terms of the program, it's about 100 hours of combined, the training, the mentorship, the activities. It's funding for 1 year, starts in September. There's 3 levels of funding. So 17,500 for master's level, up to 35,000 for doctoral, and up to 45,000 for postdocs. This is based on other funding that you have, so it's really an up to amount. And some of the amounts can be topped up with provincial partners, like Chris was saying, for Cantrain. And so that's the recap, but I think most of what we're going to wait for is your questions specific to CBITN. That's the same information, just in French, in case we have francophones with us today.
Thanks, Joe. So with that, we'll shift over to Farrell and Strokecock.
Great, welcome everyone. There's some slides to put up. So I'm platform director for the Strokecock platform. Strokecock platform is an EDIA focused platform interested in pursuing and supporting clinical trials in the area of stroke and vascular cognitive impairment. Our vision is to innovate essentially new approaches to clinical trials and try to embed the principles of EDIA, equity, diversity, inclusion, accessibility, essentially at all stages of our programming. So I can share my screen if someone doesn't have the slides, if that's preferable. So I know I just sent them in.
Vikram has your slides.
Okay.
Are you available to do that, Vikram, or should Farrell just share his own screen? Oh, here we go.
Okay, great. Thanks. Yeah, so I won't repeat. I've said a number of things. The Strokecock platform, again, is focused on stroke and vascular cognitive impairment and cognition. We're a national platform across many different sites, as you can see there. Go to the next slide. I won't spend a long time on this. This is just our leadership. So the overall lead is Jody Edwards. I'm platform director, and that's essentially some of our governance. And flip to the next slide, please. And so we're offering in this competition 2 different competitions for fellowships. We're focused on postdoctoral fellowships. One of them is up to 5 awards for PhDs or MD PhDs, essentially having started their program before the end of this year in a fellowship position. More of the specific details can be seen if you go to the online portal. The guidelines are there. So this is just some highlights. The awards are 1-year awards up to it's 52,500 plus a stipend, and then plus an operational funds of up to $10,000 for patient engagement. That's what PE is there. Again, with an EDI focus, we've guaranteeing that at least 2 of the awards will be going to individuals from a diverse background, underrepresented or marginalized population. The focus of the grants for both are the fellowship, which are clinical trials in stroke and vascular cognitive impairment. Is the dates and the place to online. The other competition, which is up to 3 awards, these are really for MDs or MD PhDs who are in a stroke rehab fellowship. So they may be doing physiatry, kind of a stroke rehabilitation focus after they've done their MD, and we're trying to support that academic pursuit afterwards. They're 2 years award, $80,000 each. And that's basically a summary. And happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Farrell. So before turning it over to questions, I'd just like to now introduce Jasmine Grant from Cantap Talent, who's going to talk about our 4th CTTP, and then we're going to go to questions in the chat.
Thank you so much, and very nice to meet everyone and see everyone here on this call. So my name is Jasmine Grant, and I'm working with Dr. Angela Chung in our fourth CTTP advertised today. It's Cantap Talent. We also have an awards program that is just closed. But for us, if anyone on this call is interested, we will have future awards in the fall for master's, doctoral, and postdoctoral, as well as early career researcher and clinical research professional. So in addition, we have travel awards for conference travel, which would be available to you. And for that to apply, we have mentorship, we have training. We are a generalist CTTP as well, so we don't have one disease site that we're focusing on. And something that might be of interest to any of you would be to join our communities of practice. We have two communities of practice which are open to everyone. They are ECHO communities of practice, and they follow case studies, and you can experience some mentorship in the clinical trialist landscape, biostatistician, and clinical research professionals. So you can check out our website, and happy to be here to answer any questions that anyone has. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. So we're going to shift gears now and go to questions. We'll start with questions in the chat, but if anyone also wants to ask a question, just put the hand up and we'll come get to you as well. So first question, I can see that Vikram has answered that yes, referees can submit the letter while the application is in progress. The confirmation email is sent to the referee. The next question is from I'm a fourth-year PhD candidate, expect to graduate within the next year or two. When's the best time to start considering and applying for postdoctoral fellowships? Well, for the Cantrain competition, you need to be registered as a postdoctoral fellow at the time of starting the application. So, sorry, at the time of starting the award. So that would be you would need to be a postdoctoral fellow by September 1st. For the other CTPs, I believe, is it consistent?
It's essentially the same with stroke cog. At least by the end of the year, you have to be, but it should coincide with the funding.
Yeah. So if you're expected to graduate in the next year or two, you probably not at the stage to be applying for this postdoctoral fellowship, given the start time, but you might be thinking about the doctoral program instead, at least for Cantrain. Oh, Lisa says, please continue to put your questions in the chat. So we'll listen to Lisa. Next question is, if a student has an FRQ award, can they receive the Cantrain award without provincial co-funding? Yes, in that those two don't, they're not conflicting awards. So you would be eligible for the Cantrain half, but not the provincial co-funding that matches it. Vikram, this one's gonna be a question for you. I'd like to know if it's possible to change the language of my application form after I've started it. Do I need to register again to make this change, or is there an option to switch languages within the existing form?
If you're switching to the French version or English, you need to restart your application. Basically, they're all completely separate forms.
Okay, so you'll need to restart the application if you want to switch forms. Vikram, is it restarting the application and registration, or just the application part?
The registration. Yeah. So you have to restart the whole application in French.
Okay. Can you please talk about how Cantrain application differs from CBITN? The current CBITN guidelines seem to be a bit different from that being presented. Joe, you want to discuss?
Sure. Would whoever submitted that question like to tell us what they're concerned about specifically? I'm not fully versed in what the Cantrain application process is. But the deadlines are the same, the amounts are different, the content's different. I guess I'd like a little bit more what exactly you're looking for in terms of the differences between the two.
Hi, so that was me. The question came before the CBINTM presentation. I'm clearer now. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Perfect. Glad the presentation cleared that up well. Would the recording be shared later? No, Vikram, do you have a mechanism for sharing the recording?
Yes, we can share the record.
Okay. If a student holds an MS Canada doctoral fellowship, are they eligible to hold a CTTP doctoral fellowship, or would the MS Canada award make them ineligible? So I guess part of that will depend on what are the guidelines for MS Canada and whether or not they allow co-funding. My understanding is that it will not pose any problems for at least for the Cantrain portion of the funding. Provincial co-funders may differ as well. So I think that may be both province specific and also it depends on the on MS Canada's rules. Farrell, anything to add to that?
Well, I was just going to say there may also be maximums allowed essentially at an institution, even if you had two kind of full awards. I don't think you could accept two full awards, but they may still be able to complement each other.
Yeah, so I think that's a good point about also checking your institutional guidelines. Is a supervisor's full CCV really necessary? Short answer is yes. I it's part of the application process and part of the evaluation process in terms of um, the competition guidelines. This one, the second part's give me a question. Vikram, you're back on the spot here. There's a problem with the application form I received after registration. The section where I'm supposed to indicate existing support's not clickable, so I can't submit my application. I guess what I'd suggest, and unless Vikram, unless you have a answer off the top of your head, what I would suggest, Ashley, would be to send an email to awards@wecantrain.ca to specify what the exact issue is.
Repeat that email address for me.
Sure, it's awards@wecantrain.ca. And maybe Cynthia, can you just add that just mention the email address in the chat so people can refer back to it, please?
Okay, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Julien is asking, can non-interventional clinical studies without testing new treatments focusing on the characterization of samples be included in this program? So that's a great question. And we're one of the so Cantrain is the mandate of Cantrain is clinical trials. So the program has been designed for clinical trials. We also, at the same time, we want to be as inclusive as possible. So if it's a trial, whether it's regulated or non-regulated, that's, I think, nice and straightforward. If it's not an interventional study, what we are recommending to people is to tie it in your application to make sure that you tie it into clinical trials. Is this pilot work for trial? If you are doing if you're looking at the psychometric properties of a questionnaire, or you're doing so because this questionnaire is going to be used in a trial, just the recommendation is just to make sure that your application ties well into the mandate. And I guess recommend looking at, we've posted as part of the guidelines, the evaluation criteria. So just keep those evaluation criteria in mind, just to try and maximize the chances of success. Belkan, anything to add to that?
Perfect. I think your answer is perfect.
Great, thank you. And anything from our sister CTTPs to add to that one, because I know that this is a question we've been getting fairly consistently. If not, okay. Next question is from can the second letter of support come from someone in the same lab? So what I would recommend here, and I know it depends a little bit on what level, but my general recommendation would be if you're I don't know whether you're a master's or PhD or postdoc student, if you have two faculty members from the same lab, I don't view that as a problem. If at all possible, I would avoid having a second reference letter. Like if you're a master's student, I would avoid having that second reference letter come from a PhD student or postdoc. I think it should, if it's going to be a reference letter from the academic environment, it should come from a faculty member. If you're working very closely with a postdoctoral fellow, they may want to co-sign the letter with the supervisor so that they're able to provide some input in it, but it really should be from someone at the faculty level for an academic letter. Any additional?
I'm a PhD.
You're a PhD student?
I'm sorry, I'm at the airport. Yeah, I'm a PhD, and the second letter I'm referring is from the research assistant in my lab.
So I guess for a research assistant, I guess I would err on going with faculty reference letters, just in that again, if your lab manager or your research assistant knows you well, maybe they'll want to co-sign with the supervisor. But in my experience, whether it's in this competition or in general, would be that it is letters from non-faculty, academic letters from non-faculty tend to carry less weight.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I will go further to say that it is important to have letters from faculty members. Absolutely important for your competitiveness, of course.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
So Christy, does that answers it well?
Yes, definitely. If I have further questions, I'll email you. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Lieutenant, is that hand related to this one or a separate one?
Yes, thank you. This is more of a question to the CBITN team. So, because from what I understand, the CBITN, the other mentor is not academic or faculty, it's professional or community. So I guess what type of who is the best person, in your opinion, to be kind of a mentor? Because I'm not very clear on the differences between professional and community. Should it be a very senior person in the field generally, or kind of more junior person who has more understanding of your work and how that can be implemented, be a suitable mentor as well? Thank you.
So the answers in your question, your best choice for a community or professional mentor is one that's going to be integral to the success of your project. So whether they're a junior or a senior is not germane. It's how insightful they can be and how useful they can be in supporting your project in terms of supporting the insights that they can offer you from outside academia and from outside. So from their milieu, from their professional milieu, their community milieu. Sometimes people take their community mentor as a patient partner. So there really is no there's no sort of ideal or template for a community mentor. It's really someone that is a good match for your project. We have two of our mentees here. If any other CBITN candidates are curious about how to go about finding a community mentor, that's a question we get a lot. So Sydney is here and Ariane are here. So if we want to discuss that now or a bit later, and we can have a broader discussion about how to find community mentors. We expected that question, and that's usually that's the most unique thing we have, and the thing no one is used to, and going, oh, I need to find someone outside the university that's new. So we'll be here to Sydney and Ariane can speak to that at length if we need to. Are there other CBITN, maybe with a show of hands, potential applicants that are always also curious about that? Maybe we could do a little discussion at the end if that's a big
Joe, I will add the following, because I have a lot of this kind of question about mentor. At least for Cantrain, we don't need to have a mentor prior to application. We assign the mentors after in a post-award phase of your application. So I just wanted to make sure that you don't need to go for, at least for Cantrain, have a mentor actually for you to be eligible to apply. So it's a precision I would like to add.
Yeah,
Chris?
and the community mentor is it's exclusively and specifically a CBITN thing. This does not happen in the other CCTPs.
So I guess
Did any hands go up about other people wondering about
Yes,
community
it
mentors?
was.
Because if not, we can just talk about it now, or
Yes,
or
there is.
go offline with Lieutenant and talk to him directly. That might be more
yeah, well, let's
useful.
why don't we do that as a and we'll keep going because
Yeah, there's quite a
questions
few
keep
questions.
coming.
Lieutenant will ask for your email and maybe reach out to you. How about that?
Yes,
There's a
thank
few
you.
questions in the chat, if you want to address those.
Yeah, so the next I guess next question was, I'm pursuing a PhD in experimental psychology, testing the feasibility of behavioral intervention for cognitive fatigability in individuals with multiple sclerosis. Am I eligible to apply for both Cantrain or CBITN? For that, you're eligible for either competition, but you cannot apply to both. So CBITN is behavioral focused. Cantrain is broad, but you can't apply to both. Okay, question about reapplying to extend scholarships. So if you've previously held an award, you're allowed to reapply to hold it again. We don't have any particular rules about extending or renewing. So it's treated like a de novo application, at least from Cantrain. I don't know if I believe it's true for the others or yeah. And the one thing, so that's, I guess, from a rules perspective, what I would, if I were thinking about it as a supervisor, what I would suggest is if you've been funded for the last year, it would probably strengthen your application to talk about what you've completed in the last year and document some successes in the process. I wouldn't just take last year's project description and reuse that. I would try and talk about what you've done and what's the next steps.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, thank you so much for the explanation. I just wanted to add like a detailed explanation about my application and the updates on my projects would help. And I need to give out more updates.
Sorry,
any suggestions?
sorry, can you repeat that? You're breaking up a little bit.
So I just wanted to know, like, what other suggestions would you would you recommend me to include in my application, other than including the updates on my projects? So I'll definitely, like, this was a question that I proposed, that I would include all the explanations on my projects and the new updates, but any other details that you think that would be better, since I'm already a applicant.
Well,
Sorry, awardee.
the other part, and it's not, again, this is, it's not part of the guidelines, but I would probably, it may be worth having a sentence or two about having spent a year in the program, how you anticipate benefiting from an additional year in the program, right? In terms of participating in not just, in addition to the funding, but to participating in the activities and whatnot.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Alors, est-ce qu'il y a des questions en français? Aucune question en français. Please proceed.
Okay, I think Lieutenant, we've addressed this one about mentors.
Yeah.
What is the eligibility conditions for postdocs in terms of years past PhD? Vikram put a link to the guidelines. I believe it's CIHR rules, which are 5 years. Could you kindly confirm the due date? So you need to register by end of May 28th, and the due date for the final application is June 2nd, both at 11:59 Eastern. Vikram, thanks for posting the awards email. While filling out the pre-registration form, I found the scholarship cannot be combined with another CIHR or research scholarship. So it can't be combined with another CIHR, and depending on the co-funder, it depends where the other research scholarship comes from. If it's from your home country. The other thing to check, as Farrell mentioned, would be if there's any institutional maximums. But if it's from an international thing, it wouldn't conflict with CIHR. But
Chris, can I just go
Yep.
back a question, because I don't think it was fully just the question about eligibility for postdocs in terms of years past PhD. So Vikram posted, I think, the guidelines for the doctoral fellowship. It's actually for the postdoctoral, I think they're asking for.
Good
I know
catch.
for stroke cog, we don't have any specific limitations on years past your PhD. You just have to be registered in a fellowship program as of the end of the year. I'm not sure for the other CTTPs if there is a max limit, like after 5 or 7 years post PhD, but I'll turn it over to them to respond.
For CBITN, it's within 5 years after the PhD.
And hi, Jasmine here from Cantab Talent. We don't have it stipulated 5 years.
That's it. It also may be determined at your institution as well. And that, like, for example, I know McGill limits it to 5 years, but others, so I guess the key, stroke hog allows longer, but one of the key things is you need to be registered as a postdoctoral fellow. So that'll take care of the institutional issues. Just a second. Just scrolling through. What is a patient partner? You mentioned the mentorship aspect for Cantrain. So that's something we started last year, where in Cantrain, we believe a lot in the importance of, both patient partners and people with lived experience. So we are trying to build out from last year and make more patient partner mentors, where we can set up a mentorship that's more of a triad than a dyad to learn more about patients' experience in clinical trials and to benefit from I guess their lived experience to get a complementary perspective on things. It's something, one of the streams in Cantrain is really focused on patient and community partners. So we've been putting a lot of emphasis there, and we're trying to build out a third component to the mentorship relationship to bring this different perspective. Okay. Next one, Vikram, coming your way. Oh, you answered. Good. Thank you. Thank you. Also, question. So I have a question related to my CCV as a new master's student in my first year. Since I do not have published papers or have yet to present at a conference, will my alternate achievements be weighed more? I know that I think all 4 CTTPs have embraced DORA and the idea of alternate or non-traditional achievements being weighed in as part of assessing the CCV. Obviously, publications are part of that evaluation, but they're not the only part. And I think, we are and the publications are also evaluated as with the candidate's career stage in mind. I think when you or for example, if someone has been in the workforce for several years and then returned for a degree, though where they may not have been academically publishing but have made other contributions, that's something else that would be weighed. So I think one of the things I would say for CCVs, in addition to, and I know I believe StrokeHog, you allowed additional pages for describing such contributions. One of the things I'd say in general would be in the CCV, and there are opportunities to bring in some of these non-traditional metrics. Help your reviewer help you by including as much detail as you can to really stress, to underscore the contributions and their impact and importance. I don't know, Farrell, anything you want to add to that?
I mean, for StrokeHog it's a little different, as it being a postdoctoral fellowship. A new master's student, there would be certainly a lot less expectation that a new master's students would have, multiple publications, unless they either did another master's projects or they had, a lot of research experience prior to that. So that's usually weighed in with, the review that the externals will do. And certainly if you have other experience you think that is showing, then use that. You can use it in the CCV. In StrokeHog, we had separate 2 pages that you could do that, but I would certainly try to play up, and make sure that it's, as Chris just said, help the reviewer by making sure that it's very clear on what roles and what achievements you have done, and don't take that for granted.
We got a question from Andrew about patient partner and research could provide us with a second reference. Andrew, can you just specify which competition you're referring to, or which CTTP you're referring to?
It's for CBITN.
So I'll Chandra or Joe, do you want to?
Yeah, okay. I see you muted yourself. A patient partner can be a community or professional mentor, provided they're not in research. So to answer your question, no, especially if they have been a first author or a PI or co-PI within the past 5 years. But if they haven't been a PI or co-PI or first author worked on any article in the past 5 years, they're eligible. Sorry, my answer was a bit confusing.
Okay. The next question is from Yasodhara, and I have a question about your question, which I know sounds very professorial of me, but which just in terms of a stroke fellow with salary from a fellowship program, which program are you referring to? Or is this for StrokeHog or is this for Cantrain?
I'll
This is
answer.
for StrokeHog.
It's for StrokeHog.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I was going to answer with that assumption. So essentially, if you're getting fellowship money, from the program at the institution, that wouldn't really be considered an award. It's not necessarily a competition that they were applying for. So I think that would be okay to combine with a StrokeHog award. Again, there'll be limits at the institution, but that's not, and that shouldn't be a problem.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, next question. Cantrain application indicates that the second reference has to be other than the co-supervisor. In my case, I've worked more with my co-supervisor in my project than any other faculty member. Can I submit my second reference from my co-supervisor? I would, if the guidelines state that it can't be the co-supervisor, then I would not submit the person as co-supervisor. That would be one where maybe you want a joint letter from your primary and co to be able to get that experience into the evaluation process. But I would, if the guidelines explicitly state it can't be the co-supervisor, then I wouldn't include the co-supervisor as a second letter. Belton, anything to add to that?
Yes, I would add to that. Yes, you can it's a good advice to have a joint letter between your co-supervisor and supervisor, because sometimes, as it is in this case, the supervisor is much less involved practically in the supervision, in a little bit less than the co-supervisor. In that case, you can have a joint letter, and you have to secure a third reference, a third person reference, so that you have two references. And if you want the weight of your co-supervisor to appears in your recommendation, I think the solution is really to have it co-sign with your primary supervisor, who are usually the PI of the grant that is supporting your clinical trial. So you need two letters, one co-signed by your supervisor and co-supervisor, and another one from a faculty member, preferably.
So we got a question from Virginia about, can an observational retrospective study using a data set with patient data be considered eligible if it's done to inform future clinical trial designs? I would, in theory, yes. What I would just suggest is look closely at the evaluation criteria and do your best to tie it to clinical trials and our mandate, because the trial component is part of the evaluation criteria. We also appreciate that many trainees are not, or most trainees will not be conducting a full clinical trial within a 1-year award. So try to help us help you.
Thank you.
Okay, your CIHR statement. Okay, that's answered. I don't have a CIHR studentship, but the trial I'm working on is CIHR funded, and I'm a trainee member on that grant. That's a good question. Jordana, I guess what I would suggest, because given the specifics of that, is if you maybe fire off an email to awards just for us to confirm that with accounting. Off the top of my head is a CIHR project grant is different from a CIHR studentship, because the project grant is given to your supervisor, whereas the studentship is awarded to you. So I don't believe it would pose a problem, but you can always fire off an email if we need to double check anything. What is the eligibility condition postdocs? Okay, we now have the postdoc updated. I've applied to external funding, not CIHR, for 10,000. Would I self-declare this in CBITN?
Yes, any external funding needs to be declared during the application.
Okay. For the Cantrain studentship, does a project need to be interventional? Can it be focused on the analysis of blood samples we've routinely collected from patients in our lab? So for that, I'll refer you to my the answer I gave about the observational study. If it's not interventional, tie it into the mandate of the CTTPs, where in terms of how this could be used in future trials, is it a pilot study for future trials? How does this fit into the mandate? Can you clarify how the studentship funding is intended to be used? For student stipend and salary. Okay. I'm not sure if I heard correctly, but I have my supervisor and co-supervisor as both academic referees. Is this a problem for Cantrain's doctoral application? My understanding is that in our guidelines, and if Vikram, you can do a quick double check for me, specify that the second letter should not be from the co-supervisor. And if that's the case, you should have a second. The second letter should be from someone else. but we're just going to double check that because I'm off the top of my head having a moment. And as we're double checking that, I think I've reached the bottom of the chat with 2 minutes to spare. Any other last minute questions?
So I may add to the session that we to encourage application in cancer, we will we started a partnership with the Cancer Research Society. So those who are applying with clinical trial in oncology, we will have max at least 3 award to match the Cantrain award. Just for information of those who intend or who are already starting clinical trial, working on a clinical trial project in oncology. Just for info.
Oh,
For CBITN, I just put in the chat, that's what we're here for, is to answer your questions. So don't, oh, is this a good question? Just send it to us. We'll be happy to talk to you. I just put our email in the chat. All questions are good questions.
agree. So Vikram put the answer in the chat about the second letter for Cantrain has to be from other than the co-supervisor.
Yeah. And they are encouraged to have co-signed letter by supervisors and co-supervisors. That's the idea, is not to have the same letters from the same lab or the same supervisorship, right? So the idea is really to have a letter that report on your performance within the unit where you are, and also outside the unit where you are not, or within the same faculty, same university, but another source of reference, of endorsement, if you will.
Got a couple more questions here. One is, for cancer focused awards only apply to Cantrain. The same rules. The cancer focus, that's part of the co-funders, which are for all CTTPs. Joe's reminding folks that CBITN is available to answer questions. Question here, for the second reference letter as PhD, academic, professor or research assistant, or previous supervisor. I'm not sure I understand the question. Christy, you
Sorry,
wanna?
Christine. No, it got answered. Thank you. I realized that it should be from the academic professor and like supporting my academic more than my research. So I understood. Thank you.
Okay. Question about, would a supervisory committee member be considered a co-supervisor? No, technically those are two distinct individuals. But the advice I would give for that, so a supervisory committee member could write the second letter. You just want to make sure that they have unique experiences or points of view to talk about. Just that if you get two letters that just say, they've worked on the same project altogether, you want to try and give a diversity of opinion and experiences to talk about, would be just some general advice. And with that, I guess just want to thank our panelists and everyone for attending today. Any questions as we approach the deadline, please feel free to email the CTTP of choice. And I guess everyone, good luck in the competition.